After introducing the Edge 50 Pro and Edge 50 Ultra, Motorola added a third member to its Edge lineup in the Edge 50 Fusion. We would hesitate to call it the runt of the litter outright, but it is definitely the most attainable of the three. It currently retails for around €350 in Europe, while its Pro sibling goes for over €800, and the Ultra sits right at the €1,000 mark. So, let's say that the title of midranger is solid and fits the Edge 50 Fusion quite well. Its Snapdragon 7's Gen 2 chipset definitely fits the bill nicely. But don't be quick to judge by that trait alone. The Edge 50 Fusion has plenty of niceties going for it, such as premium looks and IP68 ingress protection. Also, stereo speakers and a big 6.7-inch and fast 144Hz display. We should note that the Latin American version of the Edge 50 Fusion has some spec differences compared to the international model, as it's closer to the Moto G Stylus 5G 2024. It has a 120Hz display instead of 144Hz and rocks a Snapdragon 6 Gen 1 chipset. Back to the global model we are reviewing here, there are, naturally, some cutbacks on the Fusion specs sheet compared to the Pro and the Ultra. For instance, the Fusion lacks a telephoto camera. Still, it's not all bad news, since the main 50MP camera of the Fusion is pretty impressive on paper, and so is the 13MP ultra-wide camera that has autofocus and doubles as a macro shooter. Charging has also been downgraded slightly, and the Fusion only gets 68W wired charging with no wireless charging capabilities. On a more positive note, unlike the Pro and the Ultra that both get 4,500 mAh battery packs, the Edge 50 Fusion has a bigger 5,000 mAh battery. Pros: exquisite design, colors and materials. IP68 ingress protection. Bright OLED with 144Hz refresh rate and good refresh rate handling. Very good stereo speakers. Excellent cooling and thermal behavior. Solid all-around camera performance. Cons: no HDR support. Not particularly fast charging. No wired video output over Type-C. Our verdict: the Motorola Edge 50 Fusion is undoubtedly a gorgeous device through and through. It is exquisitely made, and even though the bill of materials is not what would conventionally be considered particularly premium, everything looks and feels very nice and falls into place. The IP68 ingress protection is also a great bonus to have. The display on the Edge 50 Fusion is also very solid through and through, perhaps with the exception of the lack of HDR support. We have nothing but praise for the hybrid stereo setup. The camera performance is pretty solid all around, too. We have to say that the biggest weak point on the Edge 50 Fusion specs sheet is probably the Snapdragon 7's Gen 2 chipset. It doesn't offer ample performance in the CPU or GPU departments. Even so, it's not like the Edge 50 Fusion struggled to perform any particular task we threw at it, so we won't go too hard on the choice of chipset, though it is worth noting that you can get much better performance in this price range. We would have also liked to see faster charging from the Edge 50 Fusion and perhaps expandable storage, but again, we wouldn't hold that against the phone too severely. Ultimately, we would say that if the Moto Edge 50 Fusion speaks to you, particularly with its looks, it won't disappoint in any particular way, and you should go for one. If looks aren't your first priority, perhaps shop around a bit more. Thank you for watching. See you next videos.